Alright, so in the first lesson we talked about how we need to find and organize keyword groups that meet our 4 criteria. We talked about how it's really better to target keyword groups as opposed to individual keywords. And we talked about how working the long tail of search is going to make it easier for us to get the traffic and earn the income that we want. In the second lesson, we talked about brainstorming keyword ideas with a pen and a piece of paper, and then moving on to the Google AdWords keyword tool, where we can drill down into those keyword ideas, expand them, find others, and keep working with that tool until we found a keyword group that is worth downloading to a spreadsheet and refining into a sensible post for our website. At this point in the process, we want to finalize this organization of keyword groups and move on to developing post titles. When you think about refining a rough keyword group into a nicely organized post on your website, you'll first look at the core keyword, the head keyword, which is elliptical versus treadmill. That's the primary keyword in this example. And then you'll look at all the different angles that searchers are taking with that keyword to get the content they want, find the answers they want. And we want to make sure that our post not only hits that primary keyword very effectively, but it also grabs all the long tail variations. So when someone types in elliptical versus treadmill for weight loss, we want to be there. When they type in burn more calories with elliptical or treadmill, we want to be there. If they type in elliptical machine versus treadmill, we want to be there. To show you how that process goes from start to finish, I've pulled up the Google AdWords keyword tool. I've typed in treadmill versus elliptical, as well as a few other variations on that search phrase. Elliptical versus treadmill, a couple different misspellings that will appear, and I've got the keyword tool configured exactly how I want it. And it has given me a total of 20 different variations that I could use on a post. Now, some of them have plenty of competition with advertisers and plenty of search volume and a high CPC. So I like this keyword group, and this is going to make a great post or a couple of posts on my website. To refine it, I'm going to download the entire group to a spreadsheet. And again, I'll leave it as CSV for Excel. And then when I actually get that open on my computer, I'll start to rearrange the group so that you have the closest, the most related keyword variations with each other. So let's work through some examples here. I have all these keywords that target or that mention verses, where verses is all spelled out. So what I'll do is I'll just highlight that whole row, drag it down out of the way, and I'll go through the list and say, okay, everything that mentions VERSUS as the spelling for verses goes into this group. Let's see, benefits of elliptical versus treadmill, that goes down here. Elliptical trainer versus treadmill, that goes down here. Elliptical machine versus treadmill also goes down into that group. So you could call these close cousins. All of them talk about VERSUS instead of VS when they say elliptical versus treadmill. And then I've got a couple of different keywords that mention weight loss, so I'll just slide those over. There's no real science to how you do this. You're just getting things arranged on your screen so you can see how the post starts to take shape. Here's another one about weight loss. Here's one about calories. I'll pull this one over, and I'll pull this other one about calories over. And then I've got another one about weight loss. And I just keep working my way through the process. Now, and here's machine. I start to get all of those keywords into their place. And after I've spent 5 or 10 minutes doing that, I can show you the finalized version. The finalized version has several different kind of mini groups within the overall keyword group, and a post is starting to take shape right in front of me, right on my spreadsheet, where I know that people are sometimes mentioning trainer as they search for elliptical versus treadmill. Sometimes they're mentioning weight loss. Sometimes they're mentioning calories. Sometimes they're mentioning the benefits, the pros and cons of treadmills versus ellipticals. So I get all of those keywords organized, and then I'm trying to develop a post title. Now let's talk about what our goal is with these post titles. Our goal with any post title that we put on our site is that it delivers maximum coverage for all of the variations within that group. Now, I'm not always going to be able to get every single twist and angle covered by my post title, but I will do my best. So the post title that I came up with for elliptical versus treadmill is elliptical machine versus treadmill. Which is better for calorie burn, fat, and weight loss? And you say, well, how exactly did you come up with that? Well, let's go look at it. If we come back here, we're looking at search volumes. First of all, I know that the version of elliptical versus treadmill that just uses VS instead of VERSUS is the way to go for me, because I've got all these searches that use the VS version, and if you look at the sum down here at the bottom, it's 9,300 possible searches per month. And if I use the VERSUS option, it's only 500 searches per month. So if I want maximum coverage for the keyword group and the greatest possible reach with this post, I'll use VS in my post title instead of VERSUS. Now the next thing I want to look at is, what's the best way to go? Should I add machine to elliptical versus treadmill? Should I add trainer? Which one is better? Again, it comes back to the search volume. Elliptical trainer, that variation gets searched 91 times per month locally. But if I look at the machine version, I've got a total of 480 estimated searches per month on machine. So now instead of just elliptical versus treadmill, I'm using elliptical machine versus treadmill to give me more coverage in the group. Then I want to look at other ways to reach out into the long tail. I want to hit things like calories. So I work calorie burn into my post title. I want to hit things like weight loss because weight loss shows up in the Google AdWords keyword tool. And then I also include fat because fat loss and fat burn is something that fitness-oriented people, fitness-oriented searchers are very often putting in to Google when they're looking for these kinds of answers. Now, I would only know that if this were an area of interest for me. This is another reason it's important and valuable for you to work in areas of interest, because you'll be able to say, well, based on my experience with this keyword set or with this topic, I know that something like fat loss and fat burn makes sense in this post and in this post title. So my final title again is elliptical machine versus treadmill, which is better for calorie burn, fat, and weight loss. And that's a great post. That will work very well on my website. Just to give you a couple of other examples within this fitness space, we can go back to our medicine ball examples. I can go to medicine ball exercises. Now there are all kinds of different long tail variations of medicine ball exercises. I've got medicine ball exercises, exercises with medicine ball, exercises to do with a medicine ball, and all different variations there. I've got exercises for women, exercises for men, partner exercises where you have two people kind of throwing a medicine ball back and forth to each other. I've got golf coming up, I've got other sports, I've got arm and chest. And so to come up with a succinct but thorough post title, I decided on the total guide to exercises with a medicine ball for men, women, and partners. Now, that's a good post title. It could work very effectively for me. I don't want you to feel locked in to the post title you brainstormed today, because that post title isn't even locked in until you actually publish the post. And to be honest, it's not even locked in then, because you can always come back and edit your post titles after the article is live to try to do a better job with the keyword coverage. So I may come back later and say the total guide to medicine ball exercises for men, women, and partners. And maybe I'll decide that's the better way to go. I just want you to get into the habit of practicing writing these post titles that give as much coverage as possible to the entire keyword family. All right? So your assignment is, since I gave you the assignment in the last lesson of downloading 15 or 20 different rough keyword groups to spreadsheets, now I want you to go through those 15 or 20 groups and refine them into their close relations, just like I just demonstrated for you. Then I want you to take each group and practice creating a maximum coverage post title. a post title that's a little bit catchy, covers the keywords in the group, and gives you the best possible chance at grabbing all the available long traffic you can with that post. So go ahead and work on refining the keyword groups that you have in your spreadsheets. Practice developing those keyword groups into maximum coverage post titles. And once you've got post titles and refined keyword groups, you're ready to move on to the next step in the process, which is taking those post titles and developing content that the searchers who find you are going to love and that the search engines will love and rank well. So get that done, and I will see you in the next lesson.